A lot of people think that becoming a millionaire is a complicated process, but I'm going to be showing you how anyone can do this with $10 a day. Now, I made a video like this 6 years ago about how investing the amount of money people spend on breakfast could make you rich. Well, it's now time to revisit this with some updated numbers, especially the $5 breakfast part. These days, buying coffee and a sandwich is going to cost you about 10 bucks. Well, that of course begs the question, what if you were to save and invest that money instead? So we're going to be looking at two scenarios here. The first is going to be someone who routinely spends $10 a day on breakfast 7 days a week. The second is going to be somebody who instead invests that $300 per month. It doesn't seem like a small decision like this should have a huge impact, but just wait until the end. Well, if it takes you 10 minutes to get coffee and a sandwich and you're spending $10 every single day, over the course of a year, that's $3,650 and about 61 hours of your time. Now, that's not to say that there is no value in things like human interaction, but it is an important example to look at just how much time and money we are spending on these things potentially. For now, let's jump into the second scenario of investing that $10 per day instead of spending it and what that would look like. Well, most people who are looking to grow their money will invest it in the stock market. So let's say you took that $10 per day, set it aside, and then invested every single week into the S&P 500. You would then be buying a small piece of the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the United States every single week. Now, the stock market does have ups and downs, but over the long run, it has a long history of growing wealth for many people. So according to Investopedia, the average annualized return from the S&P 500 since its inception in 1928 is 9.82%. So now it's time for the fun part. Let's take a look at how your $10 daily investment would grow at that average rate of return over different spans of time. Let's start out by looking at the 5-year time horizon. Your account value would be right around $22,000, with about $18,000 being your contributions and $4,000 being investment returns. So nothing too crazy, but that's still a pretty wild sum of money. Now, at the 10-year mark, a lot of people would think that the account would be worth roughly double what it was at the 5-year mark, so around $44,000. But this is where the magic of compound interest starts to show. And that's because you'd be looking at around $57,000. At this point, you've contributed a little over $36,000 and generated about $21,000 in returns. So now we're going to take a much bigger leap into the future and look at the 25-year mark. At this point, your account value would be around $350,000. And the crazy part is, your contributions, or what you invested yourself, is only about $90,000. So now the majority of the money that you have has been made from your previous financial gains, and your wealth is growing at a faster and faster pace every single year. But the question most people have is, at what point would you have a $1 million account? Well, if you started doing this at 18 years old, at age 54, you could probably retire with a decent living, because that is when you would become a millionaire based on these figures. So investing the cost of the average fast food breakfast into the stock market every single day could turn you into a millionaire over the course of 36 years. And the crazy part is, your total contribution here is only about $130,000, meaning that about $870,000 was made off of your money in terms of returns. Now, that does of course bring up the important question about taxes, because if you did this in a taxable brokerage account, for example, that would be a significant tax bill. Well, depending on your time horizon for your investments and what you plan on doing with the money, you could potentially use a Roth IRA to avoid these taxes entirely. And a Roth IRA is simply a type of account here in the US where you invest your post-tax dollars, and then you can enjoy tax-free gains if you meet a few requirements. The main stipulation is that you can't touch the earnings in a Roth IRA until the age of 59 and a half, otherwise you will pay taxes and penalties. Now, I of course do want to mention here that you don't necessarily have to eliminate something from your life in order to follow this strategy. For example, I spend a decent amount of money and time at Starbucks, as I'm often working there, or at other coffee shops. So if you wanted to have a coffee trip every single day and invest $10 per day, it's definitely possible if you budget your money accordingly. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, and be sure to share this video with a friend of yours who might be spending too much on fast food because they may not realize just how much money they're leaving on the table. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.